Please welcome to the stage the CEO of the National Alliance to End Homelessness, Ann Oliva.
Hi, everybody. I can't actually see, so we'll wing this a little bit, but good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. And I need to hear that back from you. Good afternoon. Thank you, I appreciate that. It is lovely to see all of you here in Los Angeles for the Alliance's 2025 Innovations and Solutions to End Unsheltered Homelessness Conference. We are incredibly grateful to be in community with all of you this week. Whew. Thanks so much, first and foremost, to the Alliance's very own stars, Malik Rivers, first time on the plenary stage for Malik. And to Alex Wysotsky for the land acknowledgement and the welcome to Los Angeles. And a special thanks to Diana, Connor, and Saba, who, as they mentioned, will be with us for each plenary to remind us to practice self-care while we're here together this week. And so we know, the Alliance team knows, that being here this week is a choice, one that's taking you away from the work that's sitting on your desk and away from your support networks at home. We know also that there's a lot going on in the world and probably within your organizations, and that your brain might be in 3 different places at once, and we get it. We want to thank you for being here, for showing up, and for joining us this week in the very best way that you can. For so many of us, 2025 has proven to be challenging in both personal and professional ways. In just the first 2 months of this year, we've seen communities hit by natural disasters like the wildfires here in Los Angeles and the flooding in Kentucky. We've been thrown into a state of uncertainty as a result of the actions and directives from our federal government, targeting people in our community and leaving doubt about the future of federal resources that our communities rely on. And if you're like me, these last few weeks have me filled with concern for the dedicated career staff in federal agencies who in many cases are our partners in this work, but who also might be our friends and our family members. Same goes for the technical assistance providers that have supported our communities over the last many, many years. It's a lot. It can be overwhelming. So, the Alliance's team has worked incredibly hard, knowing all of this, to cultivate an agenda that we hope will leave you inspired, give you moments of joy, create opportunities for togetherness, and that will leave you ready to go back to your community with positive energy. That's what we're looking for this week. That's why being here in this moment as a community is so important. I hope that while we're here together, you feel seen and supported, even while we're working hard and learning from each other. So let's get into it. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers from across the country to share their wisdom and expertise over the next few days with great plenary speakers that include Assemblyman Isaac Bryan and Senator Sasha Renee Perez, who will talk about the impacts. I feel like I have to pull these closer to my face because it's hard to see my notes. Sorry about that, everybody. So the members of the legislature will be talking about the wildfires and how that's impacting homelessness here in Los Angeles. We also have a fantastic panel of practitioners and researchers talking about making progress on unsheltered homelessness in their communities, moderated by Seiran Fu of the Hilton Foundation. We have journalist Kevin Fagan, whose new book that I just finished and was incredibly moved by. It's called The Lost and the Found, chronicles the lives of two people experiencing homelessness in San Francisco, as well as his own personal journey that included being without housing as a young person. And we have Giselle Burgess, who is the creator of Troop 6000. I have my glasses, it's the light, but thank you though. I love my team, aren't my team lovely? Giselle Burgess, the creator of Troop 6000, which is a Girl Scout troop aimed at supporting girls living in shelter in New York City. She's going to close us out at the end of the week. And then, as always, we have several of the outstanding Alliance staff speaking here on this stage or in sessions over the course of the next 3 days. So, if you have heard me speak before, you know that I always start with a roll call because I like to know who's in the room and I like you all to know who's in the room. So if you feel comfortable, of course, only if you feel comfortable, raise your hand in response to the questions that I'm asking if they apply to you, and you're probably going to be in more than one category. And while this is happening, I encourage you to look around the room and see just how many people in this room are in your shoes too, because there's a lot of us in this together. So I was going to start with an easy one, which is how many folks are here in LA for the first time, but Alex already did that. So I'm going to say, I am a girl from Philadelphia. How many of you were happy the Eagles won the Super Bowl? Okay, let's be serious for a moment. Not that the Eagles aren't serious, whatever, but let's be serious for a moment. And let's start with this. Who is at an in-person Alliance conference for the very first time? Whoa. How many folks in this room have lived experience of homelessness, housing instability, or the systems that are related to homelessness? Awesome. How many of you are frontline staff? Where's our continuum of care or other systems leadership? Tribal members, tribal leadership? Not enough, not enough. We still got to work on that. Technical assistance providers or funders? National organizations or government staff? Any housers in the room? Housers? Yeah, another place we need to get some work. Thank you, housers. Okay, so here's my favorite question, the one that I always end with. For those of you who are here for the first time, the many of you who are here for the first time who raised your hand, take a good look around for this one, because these are the folks that are going to be a good resource for you. How many of you have been doing this work for at least 5 years? Keep your hands up, keep your hands up. How many of you have been doing this work for at least 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? So you can see why I love doing the roll call, right? I love doing it because it shows us with an in an incredibly tangible way, not just who is in the room, but also the collective power and energy in the room. And although I might be the one that gets to be on this stage, this conference is not about me or the Alliance or any individual person among us today. This work and our ability to be resilient in challenging times is about us. It is about we, how we come together, how we as a field can use our experience and our muscle to move the needle. Like how more than 11,000 of us came together just a few weeks ago to push back on a federal funding freeze that would have hurt a lot of people. Yesterday, a judge granted a preliminary injunction to prevent a unilateral funding freeze by the federal government, a win directly related to your actions. So thank you. So when I think about us, about we, I tend to think about the values that we share that guide us and bring us together. The Alliance's recent strategic plan includes principles that you might see on our branding and on the conference swag that you got at registration. Be assured that we designed each of the items in your bag to represent the principles that we stand by at the Alliance and that are central to everything that we do. This stuff isn't just so you can have new stickers on your notebook or a new water bottle. If the last month hasn't proven to all of us that the principles we stand by are real, that they mean something, I'm not sure what could. I want to take a minute to tell you about the principles which feel more relevant now than ever. First, we will do everything that we can to inspire faith that ending homelessness is indeed possible, because we know it is. You know it is, or you wouldn't be here. We'll lead our work with love, equity, and respect for the people who are or have experienced homelessness in all that we do. That includes real partnerships with people who have lived experience of homelessness, not token partnerships. At every opportunity, we will bring people home. We'll fight for the resources and practices that allow the frontline staff and community leaders to get as many folks into housing and services as you can. These principles aren't just about the Alliance's work. They represent the work that we do together as a community to not only defend against harm, but to pursue a world where everyone has a safe place to live and the services that they need to achieve their goals. These principles of faith, love, home are also what has helped us navigate the environment of the last year. From the aftermath of the Supreme Court ruling on homelessness to the disruptive and harmful actions from the administration over the last 5 weeks that include delays in funding, a rollback of protections for our LGBTQ community members, and attacks on important and impactful racial equity initiatives, we are facing challenges. Every community, every person in this room has been impacted in some way. And together, we must take collective action to stand up for us. There is great power in both us and we. The Alliance is committed to being that we, to be at the national level the partner that has your back. Our commitment, oh, thank you. I'll take it. To be clear, our commitment is not wavering in this moment or in the future. We will continue to partner, to be a great partner, to be an advocate, to be an ally for homeless services providers and people experiencing homelessness all across the country. And lately, I've been thinking a lot about leadership and resilience. I'm always seeking counsel or examples from others to learn from on this front. I hope you all are too. And one example I want to share with you today is about President Jimmy Carter, who you all know recently passed away. I'm pretty old, so I remember when he was president. Probably a lot of you don't remember his presidency. But what President Carter is remembered most for is not what he accomplished in office, but instead the values that he consistently led with. And in fact, his greatest accomplishments came after his presidency. He went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize, help support democracy all over the world, and eradicate disease. The weekend of his funeral, I spent some time watching what people said about him in their eulogies. On the screen, we're going to see a quote from his grandson's remarks at his funeral in Washington, D.C., and I think it's important to pay attention to the nuance. He said of his grandfather, "His life was about love for his fellow humans and about living out the commandment of love your neighbor as yourself." I believe that love is what taught him and told him to preach the power of human rights, not just for some people, but for all people. It focused him on the power and the promise of democracy. It's a love for freedom. It's required and founding belief in the wisdom of regular people raising their voices and the requirement that you respect all of those voices, not just some. And for the last 40 years, he spent his time living out that love and that faith alongside the poorest and most marginalized people in the world. And that work, again, has been based fundamentally on love and respect. Here's the part I really need this audience to hear. And he never saw his work as a place to send pity. It was always a place to find partnership and power, and a place to carry out that commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. Essentially, he eradicated a disease with love and respect. He waged peace with love and respect. He led this nation with love and respect. The words that Jimmy Carter's grandson used in that eulogy were not by accident. Love, respect, partnership, power. Love, respect, partnership, power. We can do the same in the face of challenging circumstances. Doing this will require us to sharpen our skills and find ways to bring people along to demonstrate that we are experts, that we know how to do this work. This combination of love, respect, partnership, power, along with skill and leadership is how we'll end homelessness, and we'll do it together. The landscape of our work is undoubtedly changing. It's changed in the past 6 months, the past 6 weeks, even the past 6 days, maybe even for some of us, the past 6 hours. We are up against a new federal vision that we know will cause harm to people who have been marginalized and who suffer from homelessness disproportionately. Black and Indigenous people and people of color, LGBTQ people, people with disabilities. It will harm new arrivals to this country looking for a better life. The work of ending homelessness is being politicized in ways that it has not been before, and it will likely get worse before it gets better. And the environment, including our ability to access affordable housing, the weakening social safety net, and the severe gaps in healthcare and services, is arguably harder now than it has been for decades. As a result, we're seeing more and more people becoming homeless every week in numbers that far exceed the resources that are available. I don't need to tell you all that. You see it every day. So let's use our power and our perspective in this moment to advocate for the very things that make ending homelessness possible. People who don't do this work every day only see that homelessness is going up, and some of them are losing faith that ending homelessness is indeed possible, and it is up to us to prove them wrong. The fact that veteran homelessness continues to decline because effective and equitable policies and resources are paired together show it's possible. You all, every single one of you in this room, are ending homelessness for individuals and families in your community every day, all across the country. That is the proof. We have to use our collective power to make our case for housing justice, to secure the resources we need, to fight for policies that treat all of our neighbors like human beings. And I know, I'm standing up here because I know that we can do it. We're at a defining moment for our field, a moment that requires us to come together for a common purpose. I know that in this room and watching on live stream, there are people from all walks of life with a broad range of perspectives and experiences. And while we may not all agree on everything all the time, take another moment right now to look around this room. There are more than 1,200 of us and thousands more across the country. We are all here because of our commitment to ending homelessness and to the people that we serve. We must come together. Do it. We must come together to fight for the resources to get folks back into housing. We must come together to use our collective voice to push for real solutions at the local, state, and national levels. And these are the moments that will define us. So I want to take a couple minutes to talk about the Alliance's strategic priorities, the how of this work that I just said is going to define us. Our strategic plan includes 4 focus areas and covers all aspects of the Alliance's work. First, we will embed lived experience and equity throughout all of our internal and external facing initiatives because we know that if we don't, marginalized people will suffer even greater disproportionality than they do today. Second, the Alliance is intentionally focusing on our organizational culture and capacity so that the initiatives we implement are sustainable over time. Third, the Alliance is the Alliance's bread and butter. It's the thing that you know most about us, policy, practice, and research. This means that we are pursuing a bold, evidence-based policy and legislative agenda to get the resources and support you need to serve people experiencing homelessness in your community. And the fourth area is community and movement building, which for us means leveraging our conferences and strategic communications and expanding our direct work with states to bring more people into our tent. By aligning our work with our core principles, we can accomplish some really amazing goals. We can get folks on our side who might be on the fence about what to support in their communities. The more informed people we have with us, the better chance we have of making the progress that we need. We can pass legislation and budgets at the state, maybe at the national level, but certainly at the state level, that can support evidence-based policy and help us move the needle and measurably decrease unsheltered homelessness. We can learn from and align with other movements and build more cross-sector partnerships. And we can equip communities with the tools they need to implement evidence-based approaches that treat people with dignity and equitable practices that ensure everyone has a place that they call home. And that is what keeps me in this work, the faith that our world of today does not need to be our world of tomorrow. And we won't let anything stand in our way of doing the right things for the people that we serve. Even in these times, the entire team at the Alliance strives to look for joy. How many of you have heard of a glimmer? Do you know what a glimmer is? A glimmer is the opposite of a trigger. It's moments that create joy and hope. There's a lot of triggers out there for many of us right now, and glimmers are an active and intentional way of countering them. How many of you get the weekly field emails that we've been doing recently? All right, there's some of you that didn't raise your hand. You should sign up for them. Marcy will tell you about that. In one of the recent ones, I shared that at the Alliance, we have taken to talking about glimmers in our meetings to remind ourselves of all of the good that's happening out there. So I'm going to share with you now some of the glimmers that we've taken note of over the past few weeks and months. And since we're here in LA, I'm going to start there. In 2024, for the first time in 6 years, the Los Angeles Continuum of Care reported a decline of 5% in unsheltered homelessness countywide. That included a 10.5% decline in the city of LA. And in Los Angeles, as Alex mentioned a minute ago, labor unions teamed up with the homeless service providers to push forward a measure to provide $1 billion annually for homeless services and affordable housing in perpetuity, and the voters responded. It passed. In Texas, Dallas and Collin counties reported a 19% decrease in homelessness and a 24% decrease in unsheltered homelessness. You got Texas folks here? Raleigh, North Carolina, closed an encampment in January by housing everyone in that encampment through their new basic income program. Nicely done, Raleigh. Advocates in Tennessee created a statewide housing and homelessness coalition called Housing for All Tennessee and had their first statewide Capitol Hill Day. Connecticut launched the state's first Ending Homelessness caucus. Voters across the country collectively authorized more than $640 million in bonds for affordable housing and shelter. And I took out my phone flashlight for this one because it's just in notes. In a late-breaking glimmer that I wrote on the side of my paper here, in Nebraska, advocates beat back an effort this week, just this week, to defund the State Homeless Services Assistance Trust Fund. Go, Nebraska. These glimmers are really important. They represent progress in the face of challenges and can spark joy when you need it most. After the Grants Pass ruling last year, I had a conversation with a colleague about how to win in spite of setbacks. And where we landed was that we all have an important role to play. We have to fight back against the rhetoric that has convinced some people in our country that taking a punitive approach to homelessness is compassionate. I'm not sure about you, but I know that I can't name a time in history when taking that approach, arresting people or relegating people to camps, made the lives of people subject to those policies better or actually solved any problems in a community. It sure as hell isn't making the lives of people in Grants Pass any better. People from that community who are living unsheltered are now behind barbed wire fences and subject to increasing fines, tickets, and arrests with no real solutions. In another community, people living unsheltered have been relegated to what used to be a dog park. And not only are those practices harmful to the people who are impacted, they also do nothing to solve homelessness. So we have to shift the story and the politics. That takes intention and time and resources and partners, including people closest to the problem. But the most critical part of making that shift is proving that getting folks into housing is how to actually make a positive impact that meets everyone's goals, from people experiencing homelessness to housed people to business leaders and elected officials. We all have a role to play in educating elected leaders and engaging partners across the community so they can see themselves in our plans too. If we want to get back to a shared aspiration of ensuring that everyone in our communities has access to safe and affordable housing, we need to work together. We all know this work is really hard and that it might get harder. It can be easy to give in to the anger or to lose hope. But I am asking you to channel that energy differently. I'm asking you to join us by leaning into the values plastered all over your conference materials. Intentionally inspire faith within your community that homelessness is solvable. Intentionally lead with love, equity, and respect. And intentionally bring people home by following best practices and trying new things when you need to. Be intentional. For those of you who raised your hands when I asked if you've been doing this work for 10 or 20 or even 30 years, you know that at one time, not that long ago, that we as a nation had faith that with the right policy, resources, and leadership, that we could accomplish the goal of ending homelessness. How do we get back to that? And I think leadership is the answer. Everyone in this room is a leader in their own way. Leadership is much more than your title or position. We must all lead in this moment and use what knowledge we have to bring people along and lead them in the right direction. And here is my 2 cents for what we need from leaders in this moment. Be clear about the values that drive you in this work. Channel a leader that inspires you, whether it's Jimmy Carter or Ketanji Brown Jackson or Nelson Mandela or Malala, or if, like me, you occasionally need to watch an episode or 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer to feel it. Now you all know something extra secret about me, right? Center and hire people closest to the problem that we are trying to solve. Yeah. Stay true to the policy and practices that work. Keep supporting programs that work in your communities and maintain fidelity to the evidence-based models that act as the foundation of our ability to get folks into housing. Do this even if the government does not require it. Do this even if the government does not require it. Innovate and try new things to address new or emerging challenges. Educate and communicate with people outside of our circles. By acting as ambassadors for this work with the people in your local communities, including your local leaders and your members of Congress, you can make a huge difference. You are the most important and effective messengers we have, and this is the year we need your voice more than ever. Join our advocacy networks and support local and national efforts to combat policies and laws that criminalize people just for existing in public spaces, and pushed for increased investments by federal and state government in housing that is affordable for all people with extremely low incomes and the services they need. Support our workforce by paying and advocating for a living wage and finding other ways to support their well-being. Learn from, listen to, and support each other. That's what we need from leaders right now. There's no doubt that the road in front of us will get rockier before it gets better. The Alliance's team and I will not always have the right words or all the answers, but we are committed to walking alongside you every step of the way. We'll fight for you, we'll share what we know, and we will always offer community. I hope that this fills you with a sense of unity, that you find glimmers throughout each day, and that you walk away from this conference on Friday with the tools you need to make your own glimmers. And before I have our Vice President for Programs and Policy, Marcy Thompson, take the stage, I just want to say a simple thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you in advance to all of our speakers. Thank you to the amazing, amazing team at the Alliance for putting this really strong agenda together. And I hope you all have a great, great conference.